Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Glad to be back.
Today we're going to be looking at a recent episode of The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, it's a really interesting mix of politics, internet trends, and just kind of like the overall feeling of the end of the year.
All right, I'm intrigued.
So to kick things off, it seems like even senators can't escape gravity sometimes.
Oh.
Yeah. So apparently Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell had a little bit of a fall at a Senate lunch.
Oh, wow. Is he all right?
It seems like he is, thankfully, but of course, Jimmy Fallon couldn't help but make a joke about it.
Of course not. What did he say?
Well, he joked that this would be good practice for McConnell's wait for it upcoming fight with Jake Paul.
Jake Paul!
I know, right? Fallon even added, "It's going to be close."
Haha, he's really playing up that angle.
He is, and I think it's hilarious. But for those who might not know who Jake Paul is.
Yeah, could you give a little background on him?
Sure. So Jake Paul is like, I guess you could say like a social media personality turned professional boxer.
Interesting.
Yeah, and he's definitely known for being a little bit controversial, so I think that just adds another layer to the joke.
Definitely. It makes it even more unexpected.
Exactly. So moving on, Google just released its year in search data, which basically tells us what the world was Googling the most in 2024.
Oh, cool. What were some of the top searches?
Well, no surprise here, but the presidential election was up there.
Makes sense.
And then there was also the New York Times connections puzzle.
Oh, yeah. I've been playing that one a lot myself.
Yeah, it's really popular. Oh, and the Yankees were another big search.
Interesting. Any surprises on the list?
Well, the least popular search was, this one made me laugh, Joe Biden thirst traps.
Wow, really?
Yep. Makes you wonder what exactly people were searching for this year.
Haha, that's for sure.
But okay, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about a new law in New Jersey aimed at blocking book bans.
Book bans.
You heard that right. Sounds like a bit of a tongue twister, but essentially, Governor Phil Murphy signed this legislation to prevent the banning of books in the state.
Oh, okay. So like protecting the freedom to read.
Exactly. Now, Fallon, being Fallon, had to have a little fun with the wording, so he did this whole skit with John Hannigan, the aide to the governor.
Right.
And they were just throwing around phrases like book ban block, then book ban block ban, and at one point even book ban block blue.
Wow, they really ran with that one.
They did, and honestly, I think it's kind of genius how they can bring attention to a serious topic while still keeping it lighthearted.
Agreed. Using humor to make people think.
Absolutely. Okay, ready for another deep dive? This one is all about Santa.
Santa? What about him?
Well, Target has been getting a lot of attention for their new Christmas ad, which features a hot Santa.
A hot Santa.
Yep. And it's really sparking a conversation about how brands are using, like attractiveness to sell products, especially during the holidays.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting strategy.
It is. And then JCPenney tried to, I guess you could say, like follow in Target's footsteps.
Oh, how so?
They released their own ad featuring what some are calling a weirdly hot elf.
So trying to capitalize on the same idea.
Right. But the question is, did they achieve the same impact? Or did it come off as a little, I don't know, forced maybe?
That's a good question. What do you think?
I think we'll have to dive a bit deeper into that one to see how successful it really was.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay, so back to The Tonight Show. I have to say, I was really impressed by Fallon's holiday spirit.
What do you mean?
Well, he's got this whole 12 days of Christmas sweaters tradition where he gives an audience member this crazy holiday sweater.
Oh, that's right. I've seen clips of that before.
Yeah, and then he also does this stocking stuffer segment where he surprises the entire studio audience with gifts.
Wow, that's pretty generous.
It is. So on this particular episode, the sweater had these giant swans and shoulder pads. It was wild.
Haha, sounds like something you'd only see on late night TV.
Totally. And then for the stocking stuffers, he gave everyone Marshall Middleton speakers.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty cool, right? It really just added to this fun, festive atmosphere.
Definitely. It kind of makes you wish you were in the audience.
Right. So looking back at everything we've covered so far, from Mitch McConnell's fall to book ban blocks and even hot Santa, what's standing out to you the most?
I think it's fascinating how all of these seemingly random things actually connect to bigger trends and what's going on in our culture right now.
You're right. It's like we're getting a glimpse into the collective mind of society.
Exactly. And through these comedic lenses, we can see what people are thinking about, laughing about, and even worrying about.
It's a powerful reminder that even in a world that's often dominated by serious news, there's always room for humor.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
All right, so I think that's a good place to pause for now. Join us in part 2, where we'll dig a little deeper into some of these trends and see what they might mean for all of us.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it. It's wild how much stuff they pack into one episode of late night TV.
Right. And you know what? Speaking of packing it in,
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about that whole hot Santa thing.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned brands using like aspirational imagery,
Yeah.
but do you think that's always a good strategy?
I mean, it can be powerful. It really just depends,
On what?
like on the brand,
Yeah.
the message they're going for, and who they're trying to reach.
Makes sense.
In Target's case, it feels like they're trying to do something new with like a classic image.
Yeah.
Like that hot Santa is eye-catching, unexpected. It definitely gets people talking about it.
Yeah, no, for sure. But then there's JCPenney with that weirdly hot elf.
Right.
It seemed like they were trying to copy Target's success. What do you think about that?
Well, sometimes, trying to jump on someone else's trend, it can kind of backfire.
How so?
It might seem like they're not being genuine, like they're just trying too hard.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say if they had the same success as Target. It's like, did they do it well, or was
Yeah.
it just a little too obvious?
Yeah, like they were trying to force it.
Exactly.
But okay, going back to Fallon,
Okay.
I really liked how generous he was with the audience.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like the whole 12 Days of Christmas Sweaters bit
Right.
and then the stocking stuffers thing.
He was in a giving mood.
He was. What do you think about those segments?
I think it shows how well Fallon connects with the people watching, like giving away those crazy sweaters, surprising everyone with gifts. It creates this feeling like you're all celebrating together.
Yeah. Like I almost felt like I was there in the audience,
Right.
hoping I'd get picked for a sweater.
Yeah.
I think those small things really do make a difference.
For sure, it's like they're going above and beyond just being a show.
Yeah.
It's like they want the audience to feel like they're part of something fun.
You know, it's funny because
Huh?
thinking about late night comedy shows like Fallon's, it's almost like they're holding up a mirror to our culture. Like you see it in the jokes and the guests and
Okay.
even the segments like we're talking about now. And it all reflects what we're interested in, what we're worried about as a society.
It's like a snapshot of what's going on right now, capturing the feeling of this moment.
Exactly.
They use humor and satire to tackle all sorts of stuff, like current events, complex issues, even societal norms.
Yeah. Even the joke about, what was it? About Mitch McConnell falling and getting ready to fight Jake Paul.
Oh, yeah.
On the surface, it's a silly joke,
Yeah.
but it kind of points to how obsessed we are with celebrities
Right.
and how these like random pairings can grab our attention.
It's true. Sometimes even the simplest things can tell us a lot about what's going on in our culture.
For sure.
Okay.
Oh, speaking of which, I was thinking about that Google year in search data. Like the fact that the New York Times Connections puzzle was so popular.
Right.
What do you think that says about people right now?
Maybe it shows that we crave connection, something we can share with others, especially now when it's easy to feel isolated. People want things that challenge them, but also let them connect, whether it's in person or online.
That's a good point. And thinking about connection,
Right.
we can't forget about the whole book ban debate.
Right.
I mean, we had some laughs about the whole book ban block wordplay,
Yeah.
but this issue is something that a lot of people care about.
It is. It touches on censorship and freedom of speech and even access to information.
Yeah.
Like this back and forth between traditional values and how things are changing,
Right.
especially when it comes to education and what kids are learning.
It's really interesting how these lighthearted topics,
Yeah.
they actually connect to such big issues.
They do. It's like peeling back layers. You keep finding more and more to think about.
I like that. Peeling back layers.
It's what makes these deep dives so great. We go beyond just the headlines. We
Yeah.
get into the details and see how complex things really are.
For sure. So as we wrap up this second part of our deep dive, it makes me wonder, will any of this stuff have a lasting impact? Like, will hot Santa become a meme? Will people start saying book ban block all the time?
Those are good questions. It's always hard to tell what's going to stick. Culture is always changing. Something that's popular today might be gone tomorrow.
It's true.
But I think that's why it's important to talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
We can think about what's trending and consider what it means, maybe even influence where things go next.
That's a good point. So as we head into the last part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear what you think all of this means for us.
Okay.
Like, what are the big takeaways we should keep in mind?
That's a big question. I think for me, one of the most important things is awareness.
Ellie?
When we pay attention to these trends, Whether it's comedy or marketing or what's happening in the news, we can be more informed and really take part in our culture.
That's a good point.
We start to see patterns, question things we might have just accepted before, and make better choices about what we consume and how we interact with everything around us.
It's like we're training ourselves to think critically, not just passively taking in information.
Exactly. And when we're more aware, we can actually shape the conversation.
What do you mean?
We can support the messages that we agree with, challenge the ones we don't, and share our own perspectives.
So it's not just about being aware, it's about using that awareness to actually make a difference.
Right. Even something small, like leaving a comment online or talking to a friend, it can all have an impact.
I like that. The idea that we can all make a difference.
Yeah.
Going back to Fallon, I was impressed by how he could be funny, but also talk about serious things.
It's a tough balance, but I think that's why so many people like his show. He can make you laugh.
Yeah.
And then get you thinking.
Yeah, like a friend who's both entertaining and insightful. It makes me wonder if that's the key to good communication these days.
Maybe it is, especially now when there's just so much information coming at us. Yeah.
If you can make your message entertaining and engaging, people are more likely to remember it.
It's like that saying, laughter is the best medicine.
Right.
But maybe it's also the best way to get people to listen.
That's an interesting thought.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into The Tonight Show and everything it got us thinking about,
Yeah.
what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from this conversation?
That's easy. Never stop being curious.
Yeah, I like that.
Keep asking questions, keep exploring. There's always something new to learn and discover.
Well said. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey.
It was my pleasure.
It was a blast talking about all of this with you.
Likewise.
And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, stay curious.